Lately, I've noticed something. We ask people how they're doing, and somehow the answers become a competition. Busy, buried, I'm slammed. I haven't taken a real vacation in forever. We laugh, we nod, sometimes we even admire it. Because somewhere along the way, exhaustion became something to be proud of. Like the more overwhelmed you are, the more committed you must be. I've said those things, I believe those things, I've rewarded those things, but the older I get, the more I wonder if we've gotten this completely backwards. Welcome to Worth the Work. I'm Courtney Hughes Bohennick. I've spent the last 16 years in people and culture, and through all of those years, different companies, different leaders, different industries, I keep coming back to the same question. What is actually worth the work? Today's episode is called When Work Takes More Than It Gives Back. And I don't really think this is an episode about burnout specifically. I think it's an episode about the drift. The kind that happens so gradually you barely notice it. One more meeting, one more project, one more late night, one more, I'll get to it this weekend, until one day you look up and you realize that work has quietly taken over the parts of your life that you never intended to hand over. Not because you don't love what you do and not because you're bad at setting boundaries, but because it happened one small decision at a time. I don't think most people burn out because they don't care. I think the people that burn out care deeply about doing good work, about supporting their team, and about not letting people down. And somewhere along the way, that commitment starts costing more than any of us expected. So today, I want to talk about how that happens and what leaders can do differently, how all of us can recognize when work starts taking more than it's giving back. Let's get into it. I don't think most people wake up one morning completely burnt out. I think they wake up one morning and realize they've been saying yes for 6 months or 6 years. Burnout isn't usually one big decision, it's hundreds of little ones. One more meeting, one more project, one more email before bed, one more weekend. This is the one where you're going to catch up. And here's the tricky part. None of those decisions feel unreasonable on their own. That's why they're so dangerous. Work rarely asks for everything all at once. It just asks for 5 more minutes, then another 5, then another hour, until one day, work isn't just something you do. It's become the thing everything else has to work around. I've seen it happen to executives, and I've seen it happen to frontline employees. I've certainly seen it happen to HR leaders, and honestly, I've seen it happen to myself. There's been seasons in my career where I'd pull into my driveway after work and just sit there. Not because I was on my phone, not because I needed to get to one more email and answer it. I just could not make myself go inside. My body had made it home and my brain hadn't. I needed 5 more minutes before I could walk through the door and be a wife or a mom or just me. Looking back, I don't think I realized what was happening. I thought I was just tired, and I thought everyone felt this way. Sometimes we're busy. I told myself things would calm down after this project, after this quarter, after this really big initiative. But there was always another project, another quarter, another initiative. And that's the thing about burnout. It doesn't just announce itself. It comes in quietly and convinces you that this version of life is just temporary until temporary starts feeling permanent. And here's what I wish we talked about more. Burnout isn't always about working long hours. Sometimes it's just about carrying too much responsibility, too many decisions, too many people depending on you. Sometimes it's emotional and mental. Sometimes it's walking into your kitchen at 7 o'clock at night and realizing your body came home and your brain never did. I love my work. I really do. But loving your work doesn't make you immune to what it costs. In fact, sometimes I think it makes you more vulnerable to it because you do care deeply. And when you care deeply, it's really easy to convince yourself that one more hour is always worth it until one more hour becomes every hour. One of the biggest myths I hear about burnout is that it's an individual problem, that people just need to get better boundaries, become a little more resilient, have better self-care. But I don't buy that because if everyone on your team is exhausted, that's not 10 individual problems. That's one organizational problem. And as leaders, we have more influence than we realize. Not because people listen to what we say, because they watch what we do. If you're answering emails at midnight, your team notices. If you never take PTO, they are noticing. If you tell everyone to unplug while you're responding from the beach, your team notices. And culture isn't built by what we encourage, it's built by what we normalize. Sometimes the most important question a leader can ask isn't, how do we get all this done? Sometimes it's, what are we going to stop doing? I wish we asked that question more often because every priority can't be the priority. And if everything is urgent, nothing really is. Losing my dad in December changed how I think about work. It really started making me ask different questions. Not how do I get more done, but what deserves the version of me that still has energy left? Because the truth is, the inbox will be there tomorrow. The presentation will probably still be there tomorrow, and the emails will definitely be there tomorrow. But the people waiting for us at home, they deserve more than whatever we have left after work is finished with us. I love my career. I love this profession. I believe deeply in meaningful work, but meaningful work should add something to your life. It shouldn't slowly become your entire life. And I think sometimes we forget there is a difference. So here's the question I want to leave you with this week. If someone looked at your calendar, your inbox, your evenings, your weekends, your energy, what would they conclude you believe is worth your life? And would they be right? Because burnout rarely arrives all at once. It shows up one unquestioned decision at a time. One more reading, one more weekend, one more I'll do it myself, until eventually work starts taking more than it's giving back. And maybe that's the question we owe it to ourselves to stop, look around, and ask whether the life we've accidentally built is actually worth the work. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love if you could share this episode with someone else who needs to hear it. That's how these conversations grow, and it's how we start changing the way we think about work. You can find me on LinkedIn, and if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. Until next time, keep asking the question, what's actually worth the work?